The Odd Aliens. In a far corner of the universe, on a small blue planet called Lumina, lived a strange group of aliens. These aliens didn't look like the others in space. They had big round eyes that glowed in the dark. Their skin changed colors like a mood ring. And they had long, thin arms that moved like noodles in the wind. But looks weren't the only thing that made them different. These aliens, called the Luminarians, had a special power. They could bend light. It was like magic, but it was real. They could make things invisible or create amazing light shows in the sky. One day, a young Luminarian named Zorp was playing with his light-bending powers. He made a flower disappear and then appear again. His friend Blip watched with big, excited eyes. "Wow, Zorp," Blip said. "That's so cool. Can you teach me?" Zorp nodded and started to show Blip how to bend light. But then, a loud noise filled the air. It was a spaceship. And not just any spaceship. It was a big, scary-looking ship from the planet Muslex. The Muslexians were known across the galaxy. They were tall, strong aliens with muscles bigger than Zorp's whole body. They loved to fight and show off how strong they were. The ship landed, and out came 3 Muslexians. They were twice as tall as the Luminarians and had arms as thick as tree trunks. Their leader, a grumpy-looking alien named Grunt, stepped forward. "We heard there were aliens on this planet," Grunt said in a deep, booming voice. "We've come to see if you're worthy of joining the Galactic Alliance." Zorp and Blip looked at each other. They had heard about the Galactic Alliance. It was a group of the strongest alien races in the universe. Being part of it meant respect and protection. "We're the Luminarians," Zorp said, trying to sound brave. "We can bend light. Watch this." Zorp focused hard and made a beautiful rainbow appear in the sky. The colors danced and swirled, creating shapes of animals and spaceships. It was the best light show he had ever made. But when he looked at the Muslexians, they weren't impressed. They were laughing. "Light bending," Grunt said between laughs. "That's not a real power. Can you fight with it? Can you lift heavy things or destroy planets?" Zorp felt his color changing to a sad blue. "Well, no," he said, "but we can do other cool things. We can." Grunt held up his hand to stop Zorp. "Save it, little light bulb. The Galactic Alliance needs strong aliens, fighters, winners, not some weak light shows." The other Muslexians nodded and laughed more. They flexed their muscles and punched the air, showing off their strength. Blip stepped forward, his color turning a brave red. "We're not weak," he said. "Our powers are special. We can help in other ways." But the Muslexians weren't listening. They were too busy laughing and making fun of the Luminarians. They called them names like glowworms and useless light sticks. Zorp felt terrible. He had always been proud of his light-bending powers. But now he felt small and useless. Maybe the Muslexians were right. Maybe they were too weak to be part of the galaxy. As the Muslexians got back into their ship, Grunt turned to Zorp and Blip. "Don't bother trying to join the Galactic Alliance," he said. "You're too weak. No one wants aliens who can't fight." With that, the ship took off, leaving Zorp and Blip alone. The beautiful rainbow Zorp had made was gone, and the sky seemed darker than before. Word spread quickly about what happened. Soon, other alien races heard about the weak Luminarians. Ships from different planets came to visit, but they all left disappointed. No one saw value in the light-bending aliens. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The Luminarians tried to show their worth, but no one gave them a chance. They were left alone on their planet, forgotten by the rest of the galaxy. Zorp spent his days practicing his light bending, trying to find ways to make it useful. But every time he created a beautiful light show, he remembered the Muslexians' laughter. It made him sad and frustrated. One night, as Zorp sat on a hill looking at the stars, Blip joined him. They sat in silence for a while. both thinking about their place in the universe. "Do you think we'll ever be accepted?" Blip asked, his color a mix of hopeful green and worried purple. Zorp sighed. "I don't know, Blip. Maybe the others are right. Maybe we are too weak." But as he said those words, something strange happened. A bright light appeared in the sky. At first, Zorp thought it was a star. But it was getting bigger and bigger. "Look!" Blip shouted, pointing at the light. "It's a spaceship." Zorp stood up, his heart racing. Was it the Muslexians coming back to make fun of them again? Or was it another alien race coming to reject them? As the ship got closer, Zorp and Blip could see it wasn't like any ship they had seen before. It was smaller than the Muslexian ship and had a sleek, shiny design. On its side was a strange symbol, a blue and green circle with white swirls. The ship landed softly on the hill. Zorp and Blip held their breath, not sure what to expect. The door of the ship opened slowly, and out stepped a creature they had never seen before. It walked on two legs and had two arms, like many aliens, but its skin wasn't scaly or slimy or covered in fur. It looked soft and came in different shades of brown. On top of its head was something that looked like colorful strings. The creature looked at Zorp and Blip with eyes that showed no fear, only curiosity. Then it did something that surprised the Luminarians. It smiled. "Hello," the creature said in a friendly voice. "We come in peace. We're humans from a planet called Earth, and we're excited to meet you." Zorp and Blip looked at each other, their colors changing to a mix of surprise and hope. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change for the Luminarians. Nobody wants them. The humans' arrival on Lumina brought hope to the Luminarians. For a few days, things were exciting. The humans asked many questions and seemed amazed by the light-bending powers. But soon, something unexpected happened. A huge spaceship appeared in the sky. It was bigger than any ship the Luminarians had ever seen. It belonged to the Galactic Alliance, the group of powerful aliens that controlled much of space. The ship landed, and out came aliens from many different planets. There were the muscle-bound Muslexians, the smart Brainians with their big heads, the fast-moving speedsters, and many more. Leading them was the Galactic President, a tall alien with 4 arms and 3 eyes. "We have come to meet these humans," the President announced. "We want to welcome them to the Galactic Alliance." Zorp and Blip watched as the humans were surrounded by the alien leaders. They talked and laughed, seeming to get along well. The Luminarians felt left out and forgotten. After a while, the Galactic President turned to the Luminarians. His 3 eyes narrowed as he looked at them. "And who are these creatures?" he asked, not sounding very friendly. Before Zorp could answer, Grunt the Muslexian stepped forward. "These are the weak light-benders we told you about," he said with a laugh. "They can't do anything useful." The President frowned. "I see," he said. "Well, we can't have useless species in our alliance. It makes us look bad." Zorp felt his color change to a sad blue. "But we can do many things," he said. "We can create beautiful light shows. We can—" "Silence," the President shouted. "Beauty doesn't matter in space. We need strength and power." The other alien leaders nodded in agreement. They started to talk among themselves, pointing at the Luminarians and shaking their heads. Finally, the President spoke again. "We have decided," he said. "The Luminarians are too weak to be part of the galactic community. They are hereby banned from all Alliance planets and events." Zorp and Blip couldn't believe what they were hearing. Banned, just because they weren't strong or fast. "But what about the humans?" Blip asked, looking at their new friends. "They like us." The President turned to the humans. "You have a choice," he said. "You can join us and be part of the greatest alliance in the universe, or you can stay with these weak light benders and be nobody." The Luminarians looked at the humans with hope in their eyes, but to their surprise and sadness, the humans stepped towards the Alliance aliens. "We're sorry," one of the humans said, "but we need to think about what's best for Earth." And just like that, The Luminarians were alone again. The huge spaceship took off, carrying the Alliance aliens and the humans with them. The sky of Lumina seemed darker than ever before. Days passed, and the Luminarians tried to go back to their normal lives. But things had changed. They felt sad and useless. Many of them stopped using their light-bending powers, thinking they were worthless. Zorp spent most of his time sitting on the hill where he first met the humans. He would stare at the stars, wondering if anyone out there cared about the Luminarians. One day, as Zorp sat on the hill, he heard a noise. It was Blip, running towards him with excitement. "Zorp! Zorp!" Blip shouted. "You won't believe what I found." Zorp's color changed to a curious yellow. "What is it, Blip?" Blip held up a small device. It was something the humans had left behind. "It's called a radio," Blip explained. "It can catch signals from space. And guess what? I heard a message." Zorp's eyes widened. What did it say? Blip's color turned to a mix of excitement and worry. "It was from the humans," he said. "They sounded scared. They said the Alliance isn't what they thought it would be. They said they made a mistake leaving us." Zorp stood up quickly. "We have to help them," he said, but then his color faded to a dull gray. "But how? We're banned from Alliance space, and everyone thinks we're useless." Blip put his hand on Zorp's shoulder. "Maybe we are weak," he said, "but we're not useless. We just need to find a way to use our powers to help." For the first time in weeks, Zorp felt a spark of hope. His color brightened to a determined orange. "You're right, Blip," he said. "We can't give up. We need to show the galaxy what Luminarians can do." Together, Zorp and Blip began to plan. They gathered all the Luminarians and shared the humans' message. At first, many were scared to go against the Alliance, but as Zorp and Blip spoke about friendship and doing what's right, the others began to feel brave. "We may not be strong," Zorp said to the crowd. "We may not be fast, but we are kind. We are creative, and we never give up on our friends." The Luminarians cheered. Their bodies glowed with bright, hopeful colors. For the first time since the Alliance banned them, they felt proud to be who they were. But they knew they faced a big challenge. How could they, a small group of lightbenders, stand up to the powerful Galactic Alliance? How could they help the humans who were now so far away? As night fell on Lumina, the Luminarians worked together. They used their light-bending powers in ways they never had before. They created maps of space, planned rescue missions, and practiced new light tricks that might help them sneak past Alliance ships. They didn't know if their plan would work. They didn't know if they could really make a difference in the big, scary universe. But they knew one thing for sure. They were no longer going to hide. The Luminarians were ready to show the galaxy that sometimes the ones everyone thinks are weak can turn out to be the strongest of all. As Zorp looked at his fellow Luminarians working hard and glowing with determination, he smiled. Tomorrow, they would start their biggest adventure yet. Tomorrow, they would try to save their human friends and prove their worth to the entire galaxy. The night sky above Lumina seemed to glow a little brighter, as if the stars themselves were cheering for the brave little lightbenders who refused to give up. Humans show up. The Luminarians worked hard for many days. They made plans to save their human friends, but they didn't know how to leave their planet. They had never built spaceships before. One night, as Zorp and Blip were looking at the stars, they saw something strange. A light in the sky was getting bigger and bigger. It wasn't a star. It was a spaceship. "Oh no," said Blip, turning a worry purple. "Is it the Galactic Alliance? Are they coming to punish us?" Zorp looked closely at the ship. It didn't look like an Alliance ship. It was smaller and shaped differently. As it got closer, Zorp saw something that made him gasp. "Blip, look," he shouted. "It's a human ship." The ship landed softly on the hill. The door opened slowly. Out came 3 humans. They looked tired and scared. Zorp and Blip ran to meet them. They remembered these humans. They were Sarah, Mike, and Dr. Lee, the first humans they had met. "You came back," said Zorp, glowing a happy yellow. Sarah stepped forward. She had long brown hair and kind eyes. "We're so sorry," she said. "We made a big mistake leaving you." Mike nodded. He was tall with dark skin and a strong voice. "The Alliance isn't what we thought," he said. "They don't care about peace or friendship. They only want power." Dr. Lee, an older man with gray hair and glasses, looked at the Luminarians with sad eyes. "We should have stayed with you," he said. "You were true friends. Can you forgive us?" Zorp and Blip looked at each other. They remembered how sad they felt when the humans left. But they also remembered the kindness the humans showed when they first met. "Of course we forgive you," said Blip, glowing a warm orange. "We're just happy you're back." The other Luminarians came to meet the humans. They were excited but also curious. Why had the humans come back? What happened with the Alliance? Sarah explained. "The Alliance tried to make us fight in their wars," she said. "They wanted to use Earth as a base to attack other planets. We said no." Mike continued, "But they wouldn't let us leave. They said if we didn't join them, they would destroy Earth. We barely escaped in this small ship." The Luminarians gasped. They couldn't believe the Alliance would be so mean. Dr. Lee spoke up. "We need your help," he said. "The Alliance is coming to Earth. We have to stop them, but we don't know how." Zorp felt scared. The Alliance was so big and strong. How could the Luminarians help? But then he remembered something. He remembered how the Alliance called them weak. He remembered how they never gave up, even when everyone left them. Zorp's body glowed with a bright, determined red. "We will help you," he said. "We may not be strong like the Muslexians. We may not be smart like the Brainians. But we have something they don't have." "What's that?" asked Sarah. Zorp smiled. "We have the power of light, and we know how to use it in ways the Alliance has never seen." For the next few days, the Luminarians and humans worked together. The humans taught the Luminarians about Earth and its people. The Luminarians showed the humans all the new light tricks they had learned. Sarah was amazed. "You can make whole rooms invisible," she said as Zorp demonstrated his powers. Mike watched as Blip created a light copy of himself. "This is incredible," he said. "You could trick the Alliance ships with these light clones." Dr. Lee studied the Luminarians' light bending closely. "Fascinating," he said. "Your powers could change the way we think about light and energy." As they worked, the humans and Luminarians became close friends. They shared stories and jokes. The humans taught the Luminarians Earth games like soccer and chess. The Luminarians showed the humans how to dance with light. One evening, as they all sat around a glowing light fire, Sarah looked at Zorp with curious eyes. "I don't understand," she said. "Why are you helping us? We left you when you needed friends." Zorp thought for a moment. His color changed to a deep, wise blue. "Because that's what friends do," he said. "They forgive. They help, even when it's hard." Blip nodded. "And because every life in the galaxy matters," he added. "Big or small, strong or weak. We all have something to offer." The humans looked at each other. They felt touched by the Luminarians' kindness. "We were wrong about you," said Mike. "You're not weak at all. You might be the strongest beings we've ever met." As the days passed, the group made plans. They would use the human ship and the Luminarians' light powers to sneak into Alliance space. They would warn Earth and show the galaxy that the Alliance wasn't as good as everyone thought. It was a dangerous plan. They might fail. They might get caught. But as Zorp looked around at his old friends and new ones, he felt brave. He knew that together they could do amazing things. On the night before they were to leave, Zorp stood on the hill, looking at the stars. Sarah came and stood next to him. "Are you scared?" she asked. Zorp's color flickered between brave red and nervous green. "A little," he said, "but I'm also excited. For the first time, we have a chance to show the galaxy what luminarians can do." Sarah smiled and put her hand on Zorp's shoulder. "You've already shown us," she said. "Now let's go show everyone else." As the two friends looked at the sky, a shooting star passed overhead. To Zorp, it looked like the universe was wishing them good luck. Tomorrow, their big adventure would begin. Tomorrow, humans and luminarians would work together to save Earth and change the galaxy forever. Surprising friendship, the big day had come. The humans and luminarians were ready to leave Lumina and start their mission to save Earth. As the sun rose, casting a soft pink light over the planet, everyone gathered around the human spaceship. Zorp, Blip, and 50 other brave luminarians were going on the trip. They had practiced their light-bending powers for days and were excited to use them. The humans, Sarah, Mike, and Dr. Lee, checked the ship one last time. "Is everyone ready?" asked Sarah, her eyes bright with excitement. Zorp glowed a confident yellow. "Ready as we'll ever be," he said. With a wave to their friends staying behind, the group entered the ship. It was a tight fit with all the luminarians, but nobody complained. They were too excited about the adventure ahead. As the ship took off, the luminarians pressed their faces against the windows. They had never seen their planet from space before. Lumina looked like a beautiful blue and green marble, getting smaller and smaller as they flew away. "Wow," whispered Blip, his color changing to an awestruck purple. "Our home is so pretty from up here." The humans smiled at the luminarians' wonder. They remembered their first time in space and how amazing it felt. As they flew through the stars, Sarah taught the luminarians about the ship's controls. Mike showed them how to read star maps, and Dr. Lee explained how the ship's engines worked. The luminarians were quick learners. Soon, they were helping fly the ship and navigate through space. The humans were impressed. "You guys are naturals," said Mike, watching Zorp plot a course through an asteroid field. Zorp beamed with pride. "Thanks. We may not have spaceships on Lumina, but we're good at understanding patterns. It's part of our light-bending ability." As the days passed, the humans and luminarians grew closer. They shared stories about their planets and taught each other new things. One day, Sarah was trying to fix a broken light in the ship's engine room. She was having trouble seeing in the dark corner. "Need some help?" asked Blip, coming into the room. Sarah nodded, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Yes, please. I can't see what I'm doing." Blip's body began to glow brightly, lighting up the whole room. "How's this?" he asked with a grin. Sarah laughed. "Perfect. You're better than any flashlight we have on Earth." Together, they fixed the light in no time. As they worked, Sarah realized how much easier many things on Earth would be with luminarian helpers. Meanwhile, in the ship's kitchen, Mike was trying to cook dinner. But the stove wasn't working right. The food was getting burned on one side and staying cold on the other. Zorp walked in and saw Mike's frustration. "Can I try something?" he asked. Mike shrugged. "Sure, why not?" Zorp concentrated hard. Suddenly, the air above the stove began to shimmer. The heat from the burning side moved to the cold side, spreading evenly across the food. Mike's eyes widened in surprise. "That's amazing. How did you do that?" Zorp's color turned a modest pink. "I just bent the heat waves, like I do with light. It's all energy, after all." From that day on, Zorp helped with all the cooking. The food on the ship had never tasted better. Dr. Lee spent a lot of time in the ship's small lab, studying space rocks and dust they collected. One day, he was trying to see inside a strange glowing rock, but his microscope wasn't strong enough. A young luminarian named Glimmer offered to help. She used her light-bending powers to magnify the inside of the rock, projecting a huge image on the lab wall. Dr. Lee was thrilled. "Incredible," he exclaimed. "With your help, We could make discoveries about space that we never dreamed of before. As the journey continued, the humans and Luminarians found more and more ways to work together. The humans' knowledge and the Luminarians' powers were a perfect match. But it wasn't all work. They had fun too. The humans taught the Luminarians Earth games like cards and charades. The Luminarians showed the humans how to create beautiful light shows and how to paint with light. One night, as they all sat in the ship's common room, Mike taught them a game called Truth or Dare. "Okay, Zorp," said Mike with a grin. "Truth or Dare?" Zorp thought for a moment. "Truth," he said. "All right," Mike replied. "What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?" Zorp's color turned a deep red. "Well," he said slowly, "once I was practicing my light bending and accidentally made myself invisible. I couldn't figure out how to turn visible again for a whole day." Everyone burst out laughing, including Zorp. As the laughter died down, Zorp looked around at his new friends. He felt happy in a way he never had before. "You know," he said, "back on Lumina, we were so sad when everyone said we were useless. But now, I see that we just needed to find the right friends. Friends who see our worth." Sarah smiled warmly. "And we needed friends who could show us new ways of looking at the universe," she said. "I think we were meant to find each other." As the ship flew through the starry night, the group of unlikely friends felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. They had started this journey as strangers from different worlds. Now, they were a team, bound by a surprising and wonderful friendship. Little did they know, their friendship would soon be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. The alliance was getting closer, and Earth was in more danger than ever. But together, the humans and Luminarians were ready to face whatever came next. Space drama. The human ship with its Luminarian friends had been traveling through space for many days. They were getting close to Earth, but they knew the Galactic Alliance would be waiting for them. Everyone was a little scared, but they tried to be brave. One day, as Zorp was helping Sarah check the ship's systems, a loud alarm started to beep. Red lights flashed everywhere. "What's happening?" Zorp asked, his color changing to a worried green. Sarah looked at the control panel and gasped. "Oh no," she said. "Alliance ships are coming. They'd found us." Mike and Dr. Lee ran into the room, followed by Blip and other Luminarians. They all crowded around the big screen that showed the space around their ship. 5 huge Alliance ships were closing in on them. They were shaped like angry birds with sharp beaks and wide wings. Each one was 100 times bigger than the human ship. "We can't fight them," said Mike, his voice shaking a little. "They're too strong." Dr. Lee nodded. "And we can't outrun them. Their ships are much faster than ours." The Luminarians looked at each other. They had come so far. They couldn't give up now. Zorp stepped forward, his body glowing with a determined red light. "Maybe we can't fight or run," he said, "but we can hide." Everyone turned to look at him. "Hide?" Sarah asked. "How can we hide in open space?" Zorp smiled. "With our light-bending powers, of course. We can make the ship invisible." The humans' eyes widened with surprise and hope. They had seen the Luminarians do amazing things with light, but could they really hide a whole spaceship? "It's worth a try," said Dr. Lee. "It's our only chance." Zorp nodded and turned to his fellow Luminarians. "Okay, everyone," he said, "let's do this together, just like we practiced." The Luminarians spread out around the ship. They closed their eyes and concentrated hard. Slowly, their bodies began to glow brighter and brighter. The humans watched in amazement as the glow spread from the Luminarians to the walls of the ship. It was like the ship was being painted with light. Suddenly, Sarah gasped. She could see right through her own hand. "It's working," she shouted. "We're turning invisible." Outside the ship, something incredible was happening. The small human ship was disappearing from view. It didn't vanish completely. If you looked very, very closely, you could see a faint shimmer in space. But to the Alliance ships, It looked like the human ship had simply disappeared. Inside the ship, everyone held their breath. They could see the Alliance ships on the screen, getting closer and closer. With their trick work, the biggest Alliance ship, which looked like it was made of shiny metal and angry red lights, stopped right in front of them. It was so close that if the human ship hadn't been invisible, they would have crashed. A voice boomed from the Alliance ship. It was so loud that it made the human ship shake. "Foolish humans," the voice said. "We know you're out here somewhere. Show yourselves, or we'll destroy this whole area of space." Mike looked worried. "They're bluffing," he whispered. "They can't destroy this much space. Can they?" Dr. Lee shook his head. "I don't think so. But they might start shooting randomly. If they hit us by accident, our invisibility won't protect us from their weapons." The voice from the Alliance ship spoke again. "This is your last warning. Show yourselves now." Sarah looked at Zorp. "What should we do?" she asked. Zorp thought for a moment. Then he had an idea. "Blip," he said, "remember that trick we used to play back home? The one where we made light copies of ourselves?" Blip's eyes widened. "You mean we should make a fake ship?" Zorp nodded. "A fake ship, far away from here. It'll distract them and lead them away from us." The Luminarians got to work. They focused their powers, bending light to create an exact copy of the human ship. But they made this light copy appear far off in the distance. On the Alliance ship's screens, it looked like the human ship had suddenly appeared far away and was trying to escape. "There they are," shouted the Alliance leader. "After them." The Alliance ships turned and raced off towards the fake ship, leaving the real, invisible human ship behind. Everyone on the human ship cheered. They had tricked the mighty Alliance. "That was amazing," said Sarah, hugging Zorp. "You guys are incredible," added Mike, patting Blip on the back. Dr. Lee looked thoughtful. "This is a game changer," he said. "With powers like yours, we might actually have a chance against the Alliance." The Luminarians glowed with pride. For the first time, they felt truly strong and useful. But their celebration didn't last long. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. Alarms started beeping again. "What now?" asked Blip, his color turning a worried purple. Sarah ran to the control panel. Her face went pale. "Oh no," she said. "All that light bending used up too much of the ship's power. We're running out of energy. We're going to crash." Everyone looked out the window. A large, rocky planet was getting closer and closer. They were being pulled in by its gravity. "Hold on tight, everyone," shouted Mike as he grabbed the ship's controls. "This is going to be a rough landing." As the ship streaked towards the unknown planet, leaving a trail of light behind it, the humans and Luminarians held on to each other. They had escaped the Alliance, but now they faced a new danger. Would they survive the crash? And even if they did, what strange world were they about to land on? The adventure was far from over. In fact, it was about to get even more exciting and dangerous. Superpower surprise. The ship was falling fast towards the strange planet. Everyone inside was scared. Mike tried his best to control the ship, but it was hard. "Brace for impact," Sarah shouted. With a loud crash, the ship hit the ground. It slid across the rocky surface, leaving a long trail behind it. Finally, it stopped. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, Zorp's voice came from somewhere in the dark ship. "Is everyone okay?" One by one, the humans and Luminarians answered. They were all alive, but some were hurt. Dr. Lee turned on an emergency light. The inside of the ship was a mess. Things were broken and scattered everywhere. "We need to get out," said Mike. "The ship might explode." They opened the door and stepped out onto the planet. It was a strange place. The ground was purple and the sky was green. There were two suns in the sky, one big and red, the other small and blue. "Where are we?" asked Blip, his color changing to a confused orange. Sarah checked a device on her wrist. According to this, we're on a planet called Xenon. It's not part of the Alliance. As they looked around, they saw tall crystal towers in the distance. They sparkled in the light of the two suns. "Look," said Zorp, pointing at the towers. "Maybe there are people there who can help us." They started walking towards the towers, but they hadn't gone far when they heard a loud rumbling noise. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Cracks appeared, and purple smoke came out. "Earthquake," shouted Mike. "Run!" But as they tried to run, something amazing happened. The luminarians started to float. "What's going on?" Zorp asked, spinning slowly in the air. Dr. Lee looked excited. "Fascinating. It must be the gravity on this planet. It's affecting your light bodies differently than ours." The humans were still on the ground, but the luminarians were floating higher and higher. "Help!" cried Blip. "We can't control it." Sarah had an idea. "Quick," she said to the luminarians. "Grab onto us." The luminarians reached down and held onto the humans. To everyone's surprise, the humans started to float too. "This is amazing," said Mike, as they all rose above the shaking ground. They floated higher and higher, away from the danger below. The luminarians found they could move through the air by pushing light in different directions. "We're flying," Zorp said happily. His body glowed with a bright, joyful yellow. As they flew towards the crystal towers, they saw something that made them gasp. A huge spaceship was parked near the towers. It was an Alliance ship. "Oh no," said Sarah. "They beat us here." They floated down to hide behind some big purple rocks. From there, they could see Alliance soldiers marching into the Crystal City. "We have to do something," said Mike. "We can't let them take over this planet too." But what could they do? They were just a small group, and the Alliance had a big army. Then Zorp had an idea. "Wait a minute," he said. "Remember how we tricked them in space? We can do that again, but even better." He explained his plan to the others. The humans were amazed, and the other luminarians were excited. "It's risky," said Dr. Lee, "but it might just work." They split into groups. The humans would sneak into the city to warn the people of Xenon. The luminarians would create the biggest light show the galaxy had ever seen. Zorp, Blip, and the other luminarians flew high into the sky. They spread out in a big circle above the city. "Ready?" Zorp called out. "Ready," the others answered. They began to glow, brighter and brighter. They bent the light from the two suns, creating amazing shapes in the sky. Huge light warriors appeared, looking like they were made of stars. They were 100 times bigger than the Alliance soldiers. The Alliance army looked up and saw what they thought was a massive alien force arriving. They were terrified. Inside the city, the humans had found the Xenon people. They looked like walking crystals, shiny and see-through. "Your planet is in danger," Sarah told them. "But we have a plan to save you." The Xenon people were unsure at first, but when they saw the giant light warriors in the sky, they agreed to help. Back outside, the light show was getting even more incredible. The luminarians were making it look like huge spaceships were landing all around the Alliance army. The Alliance soldiers started to panic. They ran back to their ship, pushing each other to get inside faster. "Retreat," yelled the Alliance commander. "There are too many of them." As the Alliance ship took off, flying away as fast as it could, the humans, luminarians, and Xenon people cheered. Zorp and his friends floated back down to the ground, tired but happy. "That was amazing," said Mike. "You guys are like superheroes." The Xenon leader, a tall crystal being, stepped forward. "We thank you for saving our planet," he said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "You are welcome to stay here as long as you need." Sarah smiled. "Thank you, but we need to get to Earth as soon as possible. The Alliance might be heading there next." The Xenon leader nodded. "Then we will help you. Our ships are fast and have powerful weapons. We will take you to Earth and stand with you against the Alliance." Zorp looked at his human and Luminarian friends. They had done it. They had saved a planet and made new allies. As they prepared to leave for Earth with their new Xenon friends, Zorp felt more excited than ever. Their powers were growing, their team was getting bigger, and they were ready to face whatever challenges came next. The Alliance was in for a big surprise when they reached Earth. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most powerful force isn't strength or weapons, but friendship and creativity. Big change in space. The journey to Earth was quick in the fast Xenon ships. As they got close, they saw a scary sight. Hundreds of Alliance ships were surrounding the blue planet. "We're too late," said Sarah, her face full of worry. But Zorp put a glowing hand on her shoulder. "It's not over yet," he said. "We have a plan, remember." Their plan was risky, but it was their only hope. The humans would try to talk to the Alliance leaders. Meanwhile, the Luminarians and Xenons would set up a big surprise. As they got closer to Earth, the Alliance ships spotted them. A big, angry voice boomed through space. "Stop right there," it said. "Surrender now, or we'll attack Earth." Mike took a deep breath and answered. "We want to talk," he said. "Face to face. No tricks." There was a long silence. Then the voice spoke again. "Fine. You have 1 hour. Come to the main ship." The humans went to meet the Alliance leaders. The main ship was huge, like a floating city in space. Inside, it was cold and dark. The Alliance leaders were waiting in a big room. They looked mean and scary. Some were big and strong like the Muslections. Others had huge brains like the Brainians. "So," said the Alliance president, "you thought you could run from us." Sarah stepped forward bravely. "We're not running," she said. "We're here to stop you." The Alliance leaders laughed. "Stop us," said one. "How? You're weak and small. We have the biggest army in the galaxy." "Size isn't everything," said Dr. Lee. "We have something you don't." "Oh," said the president. "And what's that?" "Friends," said Mike. "Real friends, from all over the galaxy." The Alliance leaders laughed again, but their laughter stopped when they heard a loud noise outside. In space, something amazing was happening. The Luminarians were putting on the biggest light show ever. They created huge, glowing shapes all around Earth. It looked like thousands of ships and strange creatures were appearing out of nowhere. The Xenons used their crystal technology to make the light shapes look solid and real. The Alliance soldiers were confused and scared. They didn't know what was real and what wasn't. Then real ships started to appear too. Ships from planets that the Alliance had bullied. They had heard about the brave humans and Luminarians and came to help. On the Alliance main ship, the leaders ran to the windows. Their eyes were wide with shock. "What's happening?" shouted the president. "Where did all these ships come from?" Sarah smiled. "Like we said, we have friends. Friends who are tired of the Alliance being mean to everyone." But that's impossible," said a Brainian leader. "We're the strongest." "Strength isn't just about muscles or weapons," said Dr. Lee. "It's about working together and being kind." As they watched, more and more ships joined the light show. Soon, the Alliance was surrounded. The voice of Zor came through the ship's speakers. "Alliance leaders," he said, "you have a choice. You can fight us all, or you can surrender and help make the galaxy a better place for everyone." The Alliance leaders looked at each other. For the first time, they looked scared. "What do we do?" asked one. The president sighed. We surrender," he said. The humans cheered. Their plan had worked. Over the next few days, big changes happened in space. The Alliance was broken up. Instead, a new group was formed. They called it the Galactic Friendship. In the Galactic Friendship, every planet and species had a voice. Big or small, strong or weak, everyone was important. The Luminarians were heroes. Everyone wanted to learn about their amazing light powers. Zorp and Blip were invited to speak at big meetings. They told everyone how being kind and creative was just as important as being strong. The humans were celebrated too. People from all over the galaxy wanted to visit Earth and learn about human culture. Even some of the old Alliance leaders changed. They learned that making friends was better than making enemies. One day, Zorp and his friends were sitting on a hill on Earth, looking at the stars. "I can't believe how much has changed," said Blip. "Remember when everyone thought we were useless?" Sarah laughed. "And now you're the most popular beings in the galaxy." "It just goes to show," said Dr. Lee, "you should never judge someone by how they look or how strong they seem." Mike nodded. "True strength is in here," he said, pointing to his heart. Zorp glowed a warm, happy orange. "And in friendship," he added. "Together, we can do anything." As they sat there, they saw a shooting star flash across the sky. But it wasn't really a star. It was a ship, carrying new friends from one planet to another. The galaxy was at peace, and it all started because some brave humans decided to be friends with the aliens everyone else thought were weak. Zorp looked at his human friends and smiled. Their adventure had been scary and dangerous, but it led to a big change in space, a change that made the galaxy a better place for everyone. As the night grew late, they all headed back to the city. Tomorrow would be another busy day in the new, friendly galaxy, but whatever challenges came, they knew they could face them, because they had each other, and that was the greatest power of all.